In this video, I'm gonna show you how I countered the Alapin variation of the Sicilian defense against a FIDE master to get a winning position after only 10 moves in a rapid game. So let's start with the game c3, and I played knight f6. Pawn to e5, knight d5, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes, and white went for the bit ambitious and bit surprising approach, queen takes. And this can sometimes lead to problems because it's sometimes not so clear how should black bring the pieces out. The white queen can be quite annoying here, stays in the center, and how can we actually tackle it? But the solution, once you know it, can be very simple. So f5 is a move. So if they take, we take with the knight, and we hit the queen again. We get a mobile pawn center, and this is considered to be quite good for black. And after queen e2, which most of the people play, trying to fianchetto this bishop here, I often saw black going wrong, playing some slow moves, and then white finally gets his coordination like g3, bishop g2 castles, rook to d1, then kicks the knights, and so on. But there is this very strong and aggressive looking, and actually aggressive move, pawn to b5. Securing space on the queen side, provoking white to take, but if white doesn't take, we also expand further, might put a bishop to a6, and we finally might play b4. Sometimes it's just an idea to also target the e5 pawn, which can be done in a nice way because our center is just very stable. So this b5 pawn is useful in many ways, stabilizes the knights, grabs some space, prepares some bishop a6, and so on. So there are several lines here. For example, white could play g3 anyway, and after a5, bishop to g2. This is a small moment where you need to pay some attention because white has some tricks connected with knight h4, having some queen to h5 ideas, also opening this bishop. So here it's time to play bishop e7 first before we later move the bishop to a6. The key point is that we prevent those knight h4 ideas. So that's one thing you need to pay attention to, but this is not what happened in the game. My opponent here chose to accept the challenge with queen to b5, and I decided to hit the e5. If I win this central pawn in return for the b5, I'm very happy because I have a very, very huge center, huge pawn center in the long run. And I think the central pawn is in general just more important than a b pawn. I now expected him to play something like this, fighting to hold on to his extra pawn. But I knew some rough ideas that I will get my counterplay here. For example, if c4, which is not best, I just keep developing my pieces and play for activity. White is a bit cramped here, and I will try to increase the pressure against this e5 pawn. A sample line here, and that shows how funny and how interesting this variation is that after b3, bishop b4 check, bishop d2, you could even play g5, trying to overload the pieces. The knight should probably not take, because then I can take the e5, and the bishop cannot take because it's pinned, and after all I'm threatening to kick the knight and finally win back the e5 pawn. So this is very interesting and sharp. Black is already a lot better here, and white must be very careful. So instead, my opponent didn't play queen e2 because he probably thought it's too cramped, but he gave me the pawn immediately. But after this, black objectively already has a winning position. I went knight takes e5, bishop to e2, rook b8, queen to d1. And now strongest would have been to just trade and play bishop a6. I was not quite sure about this pawn sack here. Of course, my bishop is great, but I was not willing to sack a pawn, so I came up with another idea, securing the pair of bishops combined with a huge center, which is positionally more or less winning. And I played knight to f4, nice temporary sacrifice, because now I secure either the light square bishop, for example after castles, takes, and takes. I have bishop b7 with an unopposed bishop on such a great diagonal, which is a huge advantage. And also in the game, I gained a bishop after bishop takes f4. The idea is, of course, to regain the bishop here. And this time I have an unopposed dark square bishop, and in combination with this weak b2 pawn, this quickly led to a loss of a pawn. The game was b3, g5, just very aggressive, trying to put pressure here. Bishop h5 never needs to be feared because the king is very secure on e7, and after queen d2, check, check, and queen e5, I picked up the c3 pawn very quickly by just removing the bishop, playing rook c8, and white is not in time to defend. and not even in time to develop at all. So that's it for this sharp opening approach against a sideline in the Alapin variation with 6 Queen d4. So check this out further if you're interested. Can really help you not to be surprised and to have a really sharp antidote against a very sharp opening with this idea of playing 8th b5. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please like and subscribe, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.